Hey everybody, this is Brandon Gaudin, former voice for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and you're listening to Basketball Conference, the ACC football podcast. Go Jackets, go ACC.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Basketball Conference, the ACC football podcast. My name is Joey Weaver. A bit of a special show today. Not joined by Mike McDaniel, being joined, in fact, by Mr. Jack Purdy, editor-in-chief of From the Rumble Seat, my old stomping grounds on the SB Nation network. Wanted to get together here today, Jack, and just kind of do a special, unique episode of this show, just really focused on Georgia Tech, just talking about there has been a changeover at the AD position, and I know that there's been a lot of thoughts and feelings about all that. So just kind of wanted to run through that here for a little bit with you today. How are you doing? Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining.
I'm glad we're finally doing this. I reminded myself recently, I was like, we're overdue for some sort of on-air discussion in some form, because we always knock one out about once or twice a year. And I was like, well, I forgot to invite him to my show, and my show is kind of on summer break right now, so I'm glad this is working out.
Well, the good thing is around here, we don't know anything about summer break. We're always recording new content. So,
right. Well, see, you're the professional here, and I'm just the, we do it when we feel like it. At this
shining beacon of consistency is this show. Yeah, I appreciate you joining me here, Jack. And remind me and remind the people here, I believe you're an alumnus of the Institute, but you're also an employee of the Institute now.
In a way, yes. So I have my life kind of only revolves around Georgia Tech, which is wild. I graduated in 22. I was the sports editor at the Technique when I was there, and then I got tagged by Ben Tankersley to start doing stuff from the Rumble Seat. I took that over earlier this year after football season ended, and then I also, as of last November, work at the Georgia Tech Alumni Association as their history and traditions guy. So it is I have all of my bases covered for basically everything about the place. I know everything about Georgia Tech except for the class material, because I was not an engineer, and I can't do a lick. Like, I have to have people double check, like, if I'm dividing things right when I'm exchanging between units and things like that. Like, I just do not trust myself in that ballpark. I can talk about athletic directors though. I feel confident about that though.
There you go. That's what counts. I mean, if you can do Excel these days, that it'll take care of all of it for you.
That's true.
But in any case, for those who don't know, by the way, if you're listening to this and you're not interested in Georgia Tech, thank you for your download. We appreciate it, and you're free to go, because we're not going to talk about anybody else. But if you want to stick around,
we are going to nerd out so hard in this one. Like, this is our me and you's sweet spot. Is just nailing just the absolute depths of how weird our place gets. So
that's exactly right. So you might learn something if you do stick around. For the record, you said you were the sports editor of the Technique. That is the student paper on campus.
Yes.
And you are one of multiple members of the From the Rumble Seat staff that is a former sports editor of the Technique, if I'm not mistaken. I believe Nishant held that role once upon a time, and
Nishant had it well before my time. My friend Will Fuss, who's also on our staff, we actually were co-ed sports editors. We decided to do it arm in arm coming out of COVID, when we had no idea what the hell we were doing, because all the previous knowledge had basically run out the building when COVID started. So, it was the most interesting time, certainly, to be the sports editor when our head coach sucked and we didn't know how to write a paper. So, yeah, we figured it out. We figured it out, though.
We'll do it live. There you go. Well, once again, Jack, thank you for your time this afternoon. Thanks for joining me. I'm kind of looking forward to getting into this. Let's dive in. So again, this kind of all started, what was it? Maybe about a month ago now. We record this on July 11th. I think it was early mid-June. It was pretty quickly, within a day or so, there were some rumblings that came out. And then sure enough, J Batt, the athletic director at Georgia Tech, announced that he was leaving to go take the job at Michigan State. That had been vacated. It was interesting because actually from an ACC standpoint, I think one of the favorites to land that job was Bubba Cunningham, who's the athletic director at North Carolina. So some people kind of found that interesting that it was not Cunningham, in fact, and it was J Batt. But again, it was pretty quick from the first time I saw some rumors about this happening and it actually being announced. I mean, what was your first initial reaction when you saw and heard that news?
I was scrolling back on our Twitter feed because I distinctly remember this day. This was June 1st this month. This was the day that Tech baseball got eliminated from the tournament. And I
Yeah.
had tweeted on our account that Tech really lost J Batt and Danny Hall in a 4-hour span because J Batt's departure was announced right before the game. And then we played a marathon game where Kyle Lodi struck out with the bases loaded to end our athletic season, essentially.
Good times, yeah.
And so it was just like, what the hell happened today? Like, we were like, our baseball team was doing whatever they were doing, but we just didn't know that was coming. He had turned down the South Carolina job. And so it seemed like he was like, okay, we had re-signed him to a contract. This seems stable, all things considered.
And that was just like last summer.
That was in the winter. That was in the winter. Yeah.
Okay.
Like
wow,
that was really because we had just re-upped the contract. So yeah, it was everything was in a very recent, like everything was so recent. It didn't seem like it was as movable. Of course, money, as we will get to later, talks quite heavily in this conversation. But yeah, no, that day was just like oh my God, what the hell is going on? I thought we were way more stable, and we just lost our baseball head coach, who we knew was leaving, of 30 plus years, and our athletic director that had quite sizably reoriented the direction of all of Georgia Tech athletics. And it was like, okay, well, what's next? And we found out.
No, and I mean, I definitely think that there was a feeling of angst about it, right? Because think what you will about J Batt, either, loved him or didn't necessarily love him. But I think there was general consensus that he was a pretty competent AD. I mean, he was finding ways to fundraise. I don't know that anyone had any real significant issues with the job that he had done over 3 years. And so I think I got the sense from a lot of fans, between Twitter and Reddit and whatever else, that he's leaving us. He's abandoning us. And, F that guy, like, screw him, like, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out, like that kind of thing. And I didn't feel like that was necessarily like and I don't want to, I'm not here to try to, invalidate people's feelings, but like, I just don't think it's kind of a thing you should necessarily be mad at him about. I mean, I think if you put yourself in the shoes of J Batt, like, this move makes plenty of sense. First of all, he doubled his pay. I think Georgia Tech was paying him around $1 million, and Michigan State's going to get him close to $2 million. I mean, if you could basically keep doing your job, maybe slightly higher profile for an extra $1 million a year, I think you'd probably do it.
We all would. Yeah. If I had that coming at me, yeah, that's when, I mean, yes, it's a difference between a millionaire to a different kind of millionaire, but it still is like, that is still a serious chunk of cash in that terms, in that change to double it.
Yep. There's that. I mean, he's moving from the ACC, which we have seen go through its trials and tribulations and instability and adding teams and lawsuits and all that stuff, basically, that's gone on over the last 2 or 3 years. He's going from that to a school in the Big Ten, which is all well acknowledged to be a pretty stable place to be, and kind of one of the two leading organizations of whatever college athletics is going to be over the next 10 to 15 years. So I think that makes sense from his standpoint. He goes from managing an athletic department that was kind of a top 50 budget from athletics to a top 15 budget, right? That is a higher profile operation. That's, a better look on your resume for sure. And something else that's kind of an interesting thing at play here, specific to Michigan State, is you're probably staring down the barrel of J Batt being the athletic director who's going to hire the replacement for Tom Izzo, which we'll get into that. That might get interesting. We'll see. But
he's gonna have some very interesting conversations with Magic Johnson in the next few years. Like he went from his most popular athlete he has to talk to the most of the time was Mark Teixeira, and he's jumped to Magic Johnson. Yeah. That is a significant profile of who you're in the room with. That significant, if that matters to you in the sports world, like that can open more doors by a lot in the sports world than what we currently offer. Sadly, it's just the nature of that.
Exactly. So, I mean, again, but if you imagine it from J Batt's perspective, like that, for an AD to have that opportunity, that is an enticing opportunity, I would say. So I guess I just don't think I had no interest in being mad at him. I mean, I think he leaves the Institute in a better place than he found it. And we'll talk about some of that a little bit, but I kind of get it. I understand why this felt like an upgrade of a job. And I understand why that would upset people, but I just don't think it's something that I blame him for. I get it.
Yeah. It's career growth. Like these guys don't, he's not part of that lineage of people that we've had dating back for decades and decades of, well, let's ignore the example I was going to do. But basically, he's just not in that mold of people that are just like, yeah, I'm going to just be at Tech for the next 25 years of my life, and that's going to be my career.
He was never a lifer.
That's not how sports usually works anyways. We've been lucky enough as Tech to like find those people for over and over and over again, regardless of sport, and we have coaches like that right now. But it's at that level that's hard to pull off. Like the athletic director that's going to stick around for a long time and not climb the ladder you have to cap out a certain talent level basically, and we were not the final step in J Batt's talent level at his job.
Right.
So it makes sense from that perspective.
Yeah, he had moved around on his way to Georgia Tech, right? Like he had spent time in East Carolina, he spent time at Alabama. Like he was never sticking around in one place for 25 years. Like that's just not the way that he's building his career. It doesn't seem like. So you get it. He did do a lot of good things at Georgia Tech. Keep that in mind, right? And I will say that I label them as good things. I know that they weren't always popular. I mean, I know one of the big things that is going to be something that people point at is the Hyundai football stadium naming partnership. They renamed Grant Field specifically to Hyundai Field, or some version of that. But the point stands. But the point stands there, and I know that people didn't like that. But again, J Batt is a fundraiser. I think that was maybe the number one thing that he was charged with in this role was find additional revenue streams so that the athletic department here is well suited, well set up to continue competing in the world of college sports, as this ACC TV contract is not going to offer some big reprieve. Like you got to find more and more revenue if you want to try to keep up with the big boys and try to position yourselves for whatever comes next in college sports. And I thought he really did that. So again, there was the field naming partnership with Hyundai. There was additional partnerships to play games at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, including Clean Old Fashioned Hate here for a couple of years, which I don't have to like it, but I get it. And it's going to be nice having an extra $10 million in the budget that you basically don't have to do anything else for. So that helps.
Yeah.
He expanded the Full Steam Ahead fundraising initiative. He got shovels in the ground, and they are actively rebuilding now the Edge Center and kind of renovating that building. So he does leave a legacy of there were some positive things that he did. He did create some additional revenue streams, and that's a lot of what I would point to when I say I think he was a competent, solid AD.
Here's the crucial context of all this. When he came in, we were $271 million in athletic debt. That's the most of any school that hadn't either rebuilt their football stadium or had to renovate their football stadium because they built it on a fault line that could fall in the earth one day, aka Cal. So like it in a way, that's like the worst situation to be in financially if you haven't built a massive building and still have found yourself in that much debt. Now, some of that is based on Bobby Dowd expansions and things like that. But he didn't come in as just a passing shadow, as like a stepping stool. Like he had to find money because we were going to have problems in the future. We weren't going to be in that top tier or even barking up the tree for that tier if we didn't make some serious changes immediately. The Grant Field part does sting me a little bit just because like the history stuff matters to me, and that was John Grant paid for the original grandstands, which are still there, and named the stadium Grant Field as an homage to his son who had passed away. That was a very special circumstance to keep that name around. But when Hyundai is offering hundreds of billions of dollars that can absolutely change, and that's money that's affecting the entire institute. That's not just the football program or a logo on the field. So that carries a massive weight, and his job was to find that money, so he did it. That was President Cabrera, the President Georgia Tech, gave him full license to do what he needs to do in that regard. And the same with the Clean Old Fashioned Hate deal. It's like one game is about $3 million in cash. When it's all said and done, at Bobby Dowd, we have everyone there. We got $10 million by signing a piece of paper. We haven't even played the game yet. That's like getting 2 extra home games we don't have to play. And we haven't even gotten the gate revenue from that game yet. So that's massive. Like that's wheeling and dealing right there in ways we have not seen at Tech in basically ever. So
Exactly. And I mean, these are things all kind of surrounding the football program, what we're talking about. But again, just to be clear, these things do impact the entire athletic department. It is all one big budget. And so kind of leveraging the football program that way to create some additional revenue. Like we said, I mean, it feels icky I don't like it that we had to do that. Again, tradition and especially the background and the nature of kind of how we got the Grant Field name. But like,
Yeah.
It's just kind of where we're at with college athletics these days. You need money to be able to operate, and it's got to come from somewhere. And you only have so many big money boosters, and I don't think there's any stones going unturned over on that side of things. So it's, how else can we figure this out? And I think that's something he did well at.
Yeah, there's a lot of, but we're not like that Clemson level yet where we can like just be like, hey, we need $10 million and bam, there we go, we got the new thing built and things like that.
Finding the couch cushions, yeah.
Yeah, like we have a pretty big, like our endowment's large. I think it was Sportico who posted a list at one point. We're in the top 10 in the NCAA, but then it's an endowment. You only get so much at a time. You can't just activate the $100 million money pool and rip it out of the stock market. Like that's just not happening. So we have money coming forever, basically. There's a lot of old Atlanta money involved in our athletic department, but yeah, we needed to find a way to reinvent ourselves, and that's the path Alpert feels like it's going to take to. Like it feels like we hired another Batt in a sense of the guy who can do this kind of thing, because we're not going to make it unless we do things like this.
Yep, exactly. And again, he did some good things, but as part of it is that I don't think that I felt like he's irreplaceable either. I mean,
no.
There were things he did well. There were a couple things I didn't really feel like he did as well. And I mean, one of the first things that comes to mind, he took the job. So Todd Stansbury was fired the same day, kind of as part of the Jeff Collins firing, and that was in 2022. J Batt was hired maybe 6 weeks later, or something like that. I think in like mid-October, maybe mid to late October. He was like a month into the job when he had to make a decision on hiring the next football coach, basically, which you're basically making the biggest decision of your tenure almost immediately off the jump.
That's legacy defining right there. I remember talking with some other head coach, like I remember talking with I think it was Michelle Collier, it was Eileen Morales, the softball coach, because their season was in warm up stage, and she was like, "Yeah, we haven't really talked to him yet," and that was like a few weeks after he had gotten there, because he had to get to know everyone that was important in the whatever the people that he needs to know in the athletic department and the boosters and things like that, and he had to find out what they all thought about the next football coach, and he didn't have to ask for that information either. I am 100% sure he was volunteered that information on the regular, probably to the point where he was sick of it, because everyone had an opinion about that football team back then.
A lot of input that he never had to ask for.
Right. I mean, talk about just sensory. Like, I would hate the sensory overload he must have had so quickly. Like, that's and thank God it's worked out. But like that whole saga was a very interesting few weeks in just being like, is this program even going to make it? Because we didn't know. We legit just didn't know at that point.
Could easily see him having aged quite a few years in just a few weeks at that point.
I never saw him on campus without heavy bags under his eyes. Like you could tell that guy was only sleeping so much, and I mean, we don't. I mean, it makes sense why.
Well, the only thing I remember from his intro press conference was he kept talking about needing to find where the coffee was, and clearly, I'm glad he figured it out, because he needed a lot of coffee. I've
seen him drink coffee on campus. Yeah, he found it eventually. Yeah,
there you go. But so I guess the point that I wanted to get into was that search did end up getting, I would say, publicly messy, right? That was the search where there were a lot of reports that they were targeting Willie Fritz, and then Fritz and his camp, like Tulane was going to go play in the AAC championship game, and he didn't want to make the jump until after that, and Georgia Tech
didn't have time.
Didn't want to wait.
Yeah, we didn't have time.
I mean, you got the transfer portal thing going on. You're trying to like kind of keep your roster together somewhat. And so that was a consideration at the time, all that. It got messy. It didn't look great. Ended up then circling back around and rehiring, obviously, your interim Brent Key, took the interim tag off and hired him full-time. That's worked out. That's great. I'm happy with kind of how that's going. But the point is, I mean, the process there was not super clean, not super impressive in a way relative to some other searches that we've seen somewhat at Georgia Tech, but mostly others, I would say.
Yeah, we were also financially hamstrung, so our options were pretty limited at the moment. Yeah. Like I remember Bill O'Brien, I think, interviewed, and like we were never going to afford him. I was like, why did he even bother? Now he's got the Boston College job though, so like, what the hell do I know?
Yeah.
So like the ask wasn't there to pay him whatever 7-figure deal he wanted and still afford coordinators. So there was a financial realization that eventually was probably going to lead us down to Key no matter what in the situation. Who's the guy that was at? Was there a guy? Wasn't there a guy at Coastal we were trying to get? Or am I making that up? Or was or Liberty or something like that?
When you say we, you might be talking about the From the Rumble Seat group chat was all in on Jamie Chadwell.
That's right. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah. Yes.
I don't think that there was ever any realistic, any realism to that being like a thing that J Batt or anyone else was pursuing at Georgia Tech. I think that was kind of a dream.
Yeah. Okay. I got cloudy on that. I think he got out. That Liberty paid him enough money anyways to put him out of our reach. So yeah, it's just like it was just hard in those moments in those few weeks to just like try and reckon with trying to be competitive and get out of the hole, but also get a guy that was going to make sense. And that was just a tough pill to swallow, I think, as a fan base when it was all said and done. A lot of I think as time's gone on, we've found out how many. It seems like more people were liking Key earlier than maybe we had thought. Also, and they like that he had a good understanding of what it took to make the job work and things like that. Which the on-field performance has shown that. Hell, the first game he played showed that as well. I mean, I think once we all saw how different we played against Pitt that in his first game, it was like, okay, that's notable, and it kept going, and a good way to play kept following Key. Like that was a big telltale sign that we had a guy that at least people would follow, which is really important for whatever the future of that team would look like. And here we are.
It has never been lost on me how drastically different that team looked in 1 week, just by getting Jeff Collins out of the building.
One guy. It was one guy. That year we managed to beat Pitt, who was ranked, but we found out wasn't good. Beat North Carolina because Josh Downs dropped a touchdown, just an open touchdown in the end zone, and we did have a lead over Georgia at one point in the first quarter, which with that Georgia team shouldn't have happened, but it happened. So.
Right. Anyways, that coaching search was a little bit messy. All's well that ends well, I guess, but from a process standpoint, not super impressive. I think maybe the more interesting one in a way was that he made the decision a few months later to then move on from Josh Pastner as head men's basketball coach.
Yeah, that was interesting.
That search ended up being very quiet and ended up in a weird place with Damon Stoudemire, someone who just was completely off everyone's radar, I think. And the jury is very much out on whether that's working or not. And so I guess I think about that, and I think about what we said before about now he's going to get to replace Tom Izzo. Is like he had 2 significant coaching searches here at Georgia Tech. Neither one of them was like super clean, buttoned up, and impressive. And I wonder about that replacing such a high-profile legend. I mean, I would imagine the guy has learned something, and maybe does it a little bit differently next time. Might have, again, some more resources, a little bit more cachet that he's selling with Michigan State versus the Georgia Tech job. Yeah. But I don't know. Got to be interesting to watch as he has to make that decision, presumably in the next couple of years. I don't think Izzo has much longer in him, but we'll see.
No, that'll be a much more impactful piece of his resume whenever he gets to that point, assuming that actually happens while he's there. It seemed that Stoudemire hire felt like he just had I think I remember his press conference. He's like, yeah, we always had a list of names in the drawer, and Stoudemire was one of the names that we looked at, and it was like, okay, that's not nothing. If you've got a guy that you at least would have targeted this entire time, which felt good. And at the time, I was like, hell yeah, we got a guy from the Celtics and that Ime Udoka team that was ferocious in the finals with what they had. So I'm like, okay, that's a good school to be branching off of. It's not that team wasn't an immediate growth team, and we have certainly not grown in basketball. And granted, we were the boot club last year with only having 6 available guys for what felt like a third of the season. So I don't even know how to evaluate last year's team quite yet. Yep. But it was 2 very different processes that he had to go. He actually, if you include Danny Hall, 3 extremely different hiring processes that don't give you a signifier. That didn't give you a signifier to how the next one was going to go either.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's the other thing that you pointed out was Danny Hall, Nell Fortner, the women's basketball coach, and then there was also the track and field coach, I think, all that retired.
Grover Hinsdale, and all basically credited the I don't need to do this anymore in the current I mean, Hinsdale had been here for 30 years. He was at normal retirement age. There was probably, aside from the nature of college athletics. Danny, sort of the same idea. He'd been here for 30 plus years. He only needed to do that for so much long. He knew he only had so much longer And Fortner just straight up was just like, I don't like how the sport's going anymore. And now is the Canadian national team head coach, where she doesn't have to actively recruit. She just needs to find Canadians who are good at basketball and call it a day.
Right.
So it's just, and we've seen a lot of older coaches. I mean, Saban, same thing. So it was an interesting group of people that all left at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But it never felt like it was because of him. Like, it was because of him. It wasn't because he didn't make them an offer that they were like, yeah, I can get a better one elsewhere. It was just like he was falling into this weird nature of college sports thing happening all at the same time. So it's like they aren't his fault. It just kind of happened when he was here.
Right. Exactly. And again, I don't think the guy was perfect. I don't think he was irreplaceable, but I didn't hear a whole lot of people say a whole lot of bad things about him either.
No.
And it seemed like he did some good things or made some good decisions that were occasionally tough decisions that had to be made. So, it's tough losing a guy that you see in that role that is competent at it. And so I get the angst there, and I felt some of it as well. And some of it is just kind of feeling like I need to trust Angel Cabrera, the school president, and his process, which has landed us with a new athletic director. So let's get into that, Jack, after we remind the people about section103.com, the internet's premier place for all things wonderful Georgia Tech apparel. T-shirts like this one, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats like that one that you're wearing, Jack. All sorts of things for men, women, children, babies, something for the whole family. Go find it all at section103.com. Use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. All the official word marks, the official logos, the official gold, the official Tech gold is used on all these pieces of apparel. They are wonderful. I love mine. Jack, I presume that you love yours as well.
This is my casual going out Tech themed hat.
There you go.
It gets worn all the time.
That's right. My stuff gets worn all the time as well. Highly recommended. Go check it out if you have not already. Once again, use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order at section103.com. Shout out to Steven and the gang. And by the way, not just Georgia Tech. They also launched a new line through supporting LSU. So the site is growing. I suspect that LSU will not be the last school that is added to the site. And there might be some here in the not so distant future. So keep it tuned there. Check them out. Section103.com. One last time, use promo code GOACC for 10% off your first order. Shout out to Steven. Appreciate their support of Basketball Conference as always. Let's talk about Ryan Alpert, Jack. He was just announced in the last couple of days here earlier this week. I kind of wanted to wait to do this show until we had an official replacement, just so that we know what we're talking about for sure. Yeah. But he comes from Tennessee, comes from a very similar background to that of J Batt, coming from an SEC program where he was kind of the main fundraising guy there. That's what he was charged with in that role. And I mean, so that it's notable to me that fundraising continues to be the name of the game for Georgia Tech, at least. And I think that's probably smart, given kind of, again, where we're at with college sports these days. I think it's also interesting, not only that it's a fundraising guy, but it's someone who has background within the SEC, because not only it's, SEC programs, I mean, have had to figure out the fundraising piece to compete within their own league in recent years. So that's become much more of a machine, I think, than what you have in Atlanta right now. And so being able to bring some of that and build up some of that, I think is noteworthy. But it's also somewhat, the SEC being the local league as well. So you kind of know how this works, how this runs in this part of the country. Yeah.
Yeah. Same as Batt. I mean, pulled Batt from Bam at the time. Like, it was the same. It's very much the same line of thinking that went into the Batt hire, which makes all the sense in the world. Like, we have the debt problem. We have to find money to keep the athletic department competitive, out of financial havoc, but at the same time competitive, which is two very different things at a school that only offers 11 sports,
right?
Which is, and only at most 3-4 of them reach national prominence. Out, like, it's baseball when they're good, the basketballs when they're good, volleyball keeps getting volleyball and golf are our most consistent sports. They are always ranked and have been for like the last 5 years straight, and are knocking on. And one has got a national title. They have a golf national title from Hiroshi Tai. So J Batt's got that. J Batt's got a national title. Most of our athletic directors can't say that, but he can say that. So and Alpert also was on the list of guys we wanted, which is like,
Yeah.
it is progress when we are getting guys we actually want who are on our starting list and they're saying yes.
Yeah.
That is not the position we were in 5-6 years ago.
Prior to Cabrera.
I mean, basically, yeah. And Cabrera has made a very deliberate focus on this. Like, he knows the most eyeballs Georgia Tech gets in a single instance is when they are on ABC.
Right.
That is when it happens. It is no coincidence that we want to play games at very specific times, such as a Friday night in Boulder, Colorado, against an overrated Colorado team. That's a different podcast. But like, he knows that. Like, like, Tech's success doesn't hinge on our athletic ability, but it can get massively catalyzed by our athletic ability, and we have the most entertaining team in football last year, for the most part, in terms of just on-field drama and blood pressure measurements, probably. And so, like, you have to get it right. Like, we made a whole massive comprehensive campus plan for the next like 10 years that's raising $1 billion on campus that came out a couple years ago, and athletics was a prominent part of that. It was like, we're not leaving it out. Which is not what you probably would have said about Tech in the 1980s or 1990s even. But now, yeah, that's a very important piece of the puzzle to make Tech work. And so we have to find the best people for this kind of thing, and the people that have success and that want to take on our very unique puzzle that we have. And so it's a good sign when we've gotten 2 guys in a row that have been like, yeah, this is worth my time and effort and career ladder step for what it's worth, because who the hell knows how long Albert's going to be here.
So you imagine that J Batt and Ryan Alpert both saw it and saw that President Cabrera is willing to offer support, and this is something that is a priority to him, I think, way more so than it was for Bud Peterson, and I forget, was it Wayne Clough before? Wayne Clough wasn't as bad about it, but
Clough was better. Clough had this is where you get into my actual day job. Clough had a very interesting set of challenges just about making Georgia Tech even appealing to just exist at more than anything else. So I'll ignore SAT stats and things like that. But yeah, Cabrera is in the best position any Tech president has been in a long time to be able to focus on athletic success. And that makes the AG's job so much easier when you don't have to fight with your boss about this at the level we want to compete. Like, that's huge.
Exactly.
I mean, Alpert threw out the alignment word multiple times in the last couple of days, and that is not an accident. That is a very particular word choice to explain how this should work. And how he is excited that this, in theory, should work, and it has worked the last 3 years.
At this point, that alignment word gets thrown out as a specific indicator of either everyone's pulling the rope in the same direction or they're not. Is the athletic director having to fight against the president? Are the coaches having to fight against the athletic director? Like, that kind of stuff. And when you hear that you have alignment, that is a good sign for your athletic department at the very least. And I mean, to your point, again, that's the thing that gives me some comfort here is we have seen Cabrera do things, say things, his actions, his words, all of it would indicate that he supports the continued development and kind of pushing forward of this athletic department. That gives me comfort. The process that he went through to hire J Batt clearly paid some dividends. That gives me comfort. And it seems like, again, when we first started hearing names, Alpert was on the short list. The one other name I think that people were a little bit worked up about was Graham Neff, who, if you don't know, he's the athletic director at Clemson. He is a Georgia Tech grad. I think both his undergrad and master's came from Georgia Tech. He took over for Dan Radakovich when Radakovich left Clemson for Miami. I think people kind of saw that and everyone kind of knew that's a bit of a pie in the sky kind of hire, is a guy that, maybe it's a mama calls kind of situation. Want to try to get him to come home. But, like, again, if I'm putting myself in people's shoes, I don't think that Graham Neff, I mean, he's young, and I think he's in a place in his career where moving from Clemson to Georgia Tech would be kind of taking a step back from, a small step back, but it's a step backwards to some degree on the corporate ladder. So I get why that wasn't really a realistic dream. Maybe one day, once you've kind of topped out in your career, you've made as much money as you want, and you want to, have the go home job, maybe that's what you do. But for now, I totally get it. And it's okay that it wasn't Graham Neff. That doesn't mean that anyone failed here. It's fine.
No, it makes sense why he was the first name a lot of people went to. I'm sure the Cabrera and others thought about that as well. It's like, all right, this is is it worth knocking on this guy's door just to see if the conversation's even available, kind of thing like that. Like that's normal, that's fine. That's what South Carolina did with J Batt. So would have been cool, yeah. But again, the problem solved for the most part, all things considered, and yeah, we are now Tennessee to Tech at the same time doesn't exactly sound like a true step up either. Like comparing, I mean, it's another orange team that we just like, okay, whatever. But it definitely is different. Like it's not an entire state behind you. It's
Sure.
a very small portion of the state now behind our school relative to our main rival. So it's a very different. Now main rival stays the same, so he doesn't have to worry about like changing his wardrobe or things like he's got that. They still hate the same teams, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a also, but at the same time, his step up is getting out of deputy status. He now gets to say, "I have been a vice president and director of athletics at a Power 5, Power 4, Power 5 school." Are we counting the new Mountain West Pac-12 yet? I don't know. So if Boise State's involved, we'll see. But either way, it's like both. It's both not a step up and a step up, but his responsibility is a step up, which has had to be one of the main appealing parts of this. Is like I get to live in Atlanta and have a really freaking cool job. Yeah, that's not nothing, and have kids that are going to go to probably a pretty dang good school at the same time. That's a lot. That's hidden multiple angles that people are going to like.
It's a promotion, right? Like it's a promotional opportunity. You were not the athletic director at Tennessee. You were, one of the next in command kind of guys. But now you are the guy at Georgia Tech, and you get to run the show and do all that. So I mean, I think I won't speak for you, Jack, but for me, I feel pretty good about this. Pretty fine with where they ended up. Is it going to work? Who the hell knows? Like, give it a year and a half, and maybe I'm like, get this guy out of here. We need somebody else. Could be. I don't know, but with what I know now, and with the people that made the hire and kind of how I feel about them, I'm good with this. I'm good, and I think that Georgia Tech athletics is in a decent place going forward after all this.
Yeah, for the most part, he gets to continue what Batt started. A lot of the floors there, like the main pieces that we're jumping off of and have been and are sailing through right now are there. I don't really know what his first like massive decision is gonna have to be, because Batt did hire Karen Blair for the women's basketball position, so that's taken care of. There was the new coach for track and field was taken care of. The new coach for swim and dive was taken care of, all by longtime people who greatly understood the programs. I
baseball executed the plan that was set up, and
baseball
almost thrown into turmoil.
Yes, baseball. I mean, that baseball plan probably was set in stone 3 years ago, for all we know. It might be Bruce Hepler, the golf coach, but then just because he's been around for so long. But then like it's not the one that's like changing or making or breaking your job status here specifically. So it might. I mean, his biggest job outside of find all the money and make sure the stadium renovations go well is make sure, assuming things go well, that Brent Key doesn't leave. Like, does someone do what they did to, like, does a school do what they did to Batt and say, here, Brent, here's $5 million? He's not making $5 million from us right now.
Right.
And there are schools out there that can be like, here's $5 million. And if you want it, you can have it. And if that matters to him enough to leave his alma mater, we'll see. That was the thing Bill Curry did way back when he was coaching here and took the Bama job because it was like, it's Bama. I'm going to do it, even though Tech was on the rise and 5 years out from a national title. There's precedent across all the decades. So I think that's going to be if there's going to be a first true test I'm looking out for, outside of like, does hell of a block party work, or are the concessions good? It's just be like, okay, what are the circumnavigating conversations out there? Like, are we getting poached, or do we have really strong defenses from the armies that are the SEC and Big Ten schools that can invade and take our people with a big enough check?
I was going to say that seems like that would be a lot of it is someone getting hired away by somebody else. That's on the table. If I had to just guess at the first job that he has to make a decision on, it might be the men's basketball coach.
If this year is bad, because this is a good recruiting class, Damon did do well on that front. Still have Bynadongo. Still have Kwasi Reeves, and got Mohamed Silla, who's first 5-star, and I don't know how long we've had on that team, and a very tall man at that. if that doesn't work, that's something. That's going to be if we get like pummeled by Wake Forest or one of our non-con games goes like that UMass Lowell game last year just comes out of left field and we look like crap. You start asking questions then.
Right.
But if that doesn't happen, then he just might be able to just focus on the money even more. I don't think we really want to have to buy out Damon this year and use a few $1,000,000 on something that can go towards something else, which is a lot of projects we have right now. So.
Right. I was going to say it's more likely that any major decisions is around policies, facilities, fundraiser program, some of all the very like off-field businessy kind of aspects of it. So we will see. Jack, any other thoughts, feelings, anything else you want to get out and get off your chest while we're here?
Oh man, on my basketball conference debut, this is interesting. I mean,
make it count.
I'll say this. I think our game. Okay. Here's the question: is our opening game against Colorado, is that going to get more eyeballs than the Auburn-Baylor game happening at the exact same time that Friday night?
I'm going to say yes.
I think so too. So we've got ESPN.
And I don't actually think it's really about Georgia Tech. I think it's about Colorado.
That's the thing. It's that we are walking into a absolute drama-filled section, and I don't think this is the only team in the country I think that would actually even bother to overlook us. And so far, it looks like that's kind of what's happening. Based on what Dion said this week. I don't know, man.
Some strange thing. I've seen some things on social media. It seems like strange things are amiss in Boulder right now. I don't really know what's going on there.
It feels that way. I'm very happy we have a guy like Brent who has seen firsthand what locker rooms and football teams going through that can look like, and we are the opposite of that right now, which usually speaks well as to on-field performance. So that's where I'm standing right now. They
are favored on the road at Colorado. I think that's warranted.
It's been 3.5 for a couple months now. Like this has been a very steady, we've got this kind of situation. 3 on the road at opener, it's pretty darn good. That's strong.
It's just hard to know what to expect that Colorado team to be with as much as they lost and just the constant heavy volume of transfers in and out of that place on a given year. I think that it's going to be really, really difficult to replace your kind of everything quarterback for that offense and a Heisman winning do everything player on both sides of the ball in Travis Hunter. Obviously they've got some talented quarterbacks coming in, but we've seen a lot of talented quarterbacks in a lot of places that, are kind of meh when you actually put them between the white lines on the field. So
I am grateful that we are the first game when it comes to that. It could have been later down the road and they've got their feet under them. We just get to throw Kyle Eifert in their face and see how they deal with that. Yeah.
The only concern there is, again, you don't know what they're going to look like. So you can kind of go off film in some ways, but you're kind of just guessing at what the game plan's got to be on defense, especially. So who knows? I'm looking forward to it though. Again, as we record this, we're 6-7 weeks out from that game. So
my God.
Yep. It's going to be here before you know it.
This is the last of my free Saturdays before there isn't one until February.
There you go. And we wouldn't have it any other way. Jack, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Do you want to tell the people real quick where they can go find your stuff?
Yes, of course. So I'm with from the Rumble Seat. You can find it at fromtherumbleseat.com is where we post all our stuff. We are in the midst of 100 Days to Football countdown, just reviewing all the positions, key players. We'll get into schedule previews soon and things of that nature. We also have a podcast called Science of the Southland, where me, Jake Grant, and Akshay Swaran cover tech on a week-to-week basis when sports are in season. We all work real jobs, and so summer gets to be the time where we take a break. So we'll get in here every once in a while. But once football season and volleyball season especially kicks off, we're going to be in full gear. And I guess I should shout out Game on Paper. I do technically help Game on Paper as well. If you like watching live stats automatically update on a computer while you watch football to help you understand the game to its furthest degrees in a simple way, that's the way to do it.
In an aesthetically pleasing format too.
Very aesthetically pleasing format as well. So that's what if I'm not working FTRS during watching football, I'm tweeting from that account, and it's a really fun time to understand football better if you're into that kind of thing and just understand how the country is doing. So it's a great way to intake football, as I have learned.
There you go. Jack, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for your time and for joining. I've enjoyed this, and you're welcome back anytime, man.
Oh, thank you. All right. Go Jackets.
Go Jackets. That's right. We're going to get out of here. Again, I don't know when this will be posted necessarily. I don't know what the order of operations will be. We have, Mike and I already recorded a kind of kickoff of the season preview season. We already did that last night as we record this. So that'll be hitting your feeds. And then obviously all of our team previews will be hitting your feeds as well here in the coming days. So keep it tuned here, youtube.com/at the ACC Football Podcast. Basketball Conference on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Google, Amazon, all those different places where you can go find your podcast. Go find us there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those places. We would appreciate your follows and, again, your subscribes on YouTube and thumbs up and all that stuff. That would be great as well. But we're going to get out of here and come back and give you some more content in the feed. So keep it tuned here. For that guy, Mr. Jack Purdy, I am Joey Weaver. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will talk to you again very, very soon. Until next time, go Jackets and go ACC.